Over the years, I've learned a thing or two about discernment, especially when life gets messy and you start seeking guidance and the healer hashtags start looking suspiciously like salvation. Now, never in a million years did I think a chat about womb work would end up at what the fuck, but here we are. So, for a bit of background, I'd been hoping to escape the Canberra frost for a long time and praying for a move to the sunny land for years. Queensland, home of the endless skies, incense thick air, and beaches lined with Pleiadians in crochet bikinis. Problem is, I'm not built for drumming circles or flower crowns woven with selenite, as there's a better chance of catching me chucking on a yellow stack hat and calling it a day. But for one reason or another, the move I had always hoped for seemed to always be getting blocked or delayed. And I'm a firm believer in that the universe has my back and was probably doing me a solid. After all, don't they say rejection is God's protection? Anyway, so the other day I caught up with a mate and she had just moved back to the monotones of the nation's capital after 8 years under those golden skies. We were bonding over raising teenagers when she casually drops mid chai. Oh, and I also left this spiritual type cult thing. It was life changing. Slam the brakes, rewind. What now? Walk me through this from the beginning, I say, leaning into my steaming tea like it's popcorn. She starts telling me about this so called enlightened womb healer that was hosting sacred groups and retreats. But behind the scenes, she had a trail of clients that she had encouraged to break up their relationships. She had emotionally wrecked followers, and one particularly memorable retreat that featured a tall, lanky silver fox prancing around Uluru, stark naked, chanting under the moon. I think to myself, well, that's a bit rude. Show some respect, mate. It's Ayers Rock, for heaven's sakes. And apparently, this womb warrior over sexualized everything. She claimed her gender fluidity ranged somewhere between lesbian and intimacy with the earth. Now, listen, I'm open minded. I mean, you don't survive my life story being judgmental. But this was next level Yoni fermentation. I'm sitting there picturing her getting down and dirty with unconsenting Mother Nature. Like, girl, that's not sacred union, that's compost kink. And you can't get more spiritually feral than that. The more I heard about this womb raider from the sunny north, the more it hit me. There's a whole industry of people out here weaponizing spirituality, setting up spiritual businesses out their assholes, launching cosmic con jobs and preying on the vulnerable, serving it up as being of service. Look, I'm all for abundance. We all got to eat, pay bills, maybe buy a quartz or two, but there are galaxies between charging for a wholesome spiritual service and exploiting of the vulnerable. From where I'm sitting, the spiritual scene's turned into a bit of a marketplace of madness. Light language reels, ceremonial cacao, weirdo portals, and twin flame discount codes. Puke. But be for real, soulmates on lay-by just feels commodified, disembodied, and dishonest. That's a hard pass from me, thanks. I mean, you can be interdimensional without being delusional, right? You can love Akashic records and still call bullshit when you see spiritual cosplay disguised as consciousness. There's a fine line, and I feel like too many are out there walking it like it's Paris Fashion Week, for fuck's sakes, with a passion. Safe to say, I don't identify as eco-spiritual. I'm part sacred, part savage, equal prayer hands and side-eye. I'll burn some sage up in your face and burn the bridge if you try and hustle heal me at $900 a session. Because I know all too well, real spirituality isn't a brand or a trend. It's not filtered or flashy. It's quiet. It's that firm knowing that shapes your values. It's guidance from your ancestors, not your marketing team. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's humbling, but it's never manipulative or a sales funnel disguised as divine light. Spirituality and the healing journey are often lonely and not performative. The dark night isn't a vibe, it's a reckoning. And as someone who reveres Mother Earth, I hold Gaia in deep, loving respect. Anyone who knows me, if I see someone litter, I certifiably lose my shit. Even at my own kids, I just don't accept that crap. So to hear that this womb raider wasn't just spiritually dodgy, but romantically entangled with the dirt, well, that was a full-blown activation of my vomit vibe emoji, for real. To trivialize connection to earth into some base chakra sexuality stream of God knows what, and then be selling it as enlightenment? Hell no. No, mate, that's not sacred embodiment. That's a circus act dressed in starseed lingerie, and no offense intended to the real life cotton candy clown crew. The more I heard, the more the whole story was giving, those twin flame gurus from the US, the couple who turned Divine Union into a multi-level affiliate heartbreak scheme, auctioning soulmates to the highest bidder, convincing vulnerable people to rewrite their entire identities in the name of union, even to rewrite their sexuality and ignore reality. There were mental breakdowns, imaginary severing of karmic contracts. There were restraining orders, court cases. People's lives were ruined. It was a cosmic shit show of the highest order. And that's not spirituality, friends. That's abuse with a moon magic filter. Turns out the womb raider had everyone under her spell, draining the vulnerable, using and abusing people who showed up with open hearts wanting to heal, grow, and get on with life. Instead, they found themselves at her beck and call, treated like spiritual interns, as if God would pay ID them in the currency of acts of service. Well, I'd certainly never heard of a love language so blatantly bullshit. The thing is, the billion-dollar spiritual industry thrives on keeping people stuck in a loop of not quite enoughness. I used to be one of those people. Just one more healing, one more retreat, one more portal activation, and then you'll finally arrive at platform healed. Because move over, Potter, I was clearly at the wrong station, boarding the wrong express straight to Delulu for far too long. Those of us who have really done the work, we know arrival isn't flashy. It's quiet, humble, it's often painful. Because here's the truth. There are good people out there doing real work, heart-led work. But just because someone has sight or speaks of light, it doesn't mean that they're coming from a clean channel. Spiritual gifts don't cancel out ego. They don't autocorrect trauma. And they sure as hell don't make someone immune to manipulation. And when people mistake gifts of wisdom and sight, and shit gets real and dangerous and real dangerous. We should never trust blindly just because someone has spiritual gifts or they reckon that they've got spiritual wisdom. That stuff doesn't automatically make someone trustworthy. Being a channel doesn't make you pure. It just means you're tuned in to what exactly and from where, who freaking knows? And just because you think you can guide someone doesn't mean you should. And just because someone's on the path doesn't mean they're not projecting their pain all over yours. Yes, people deserve to be paid for their work and sharing their divinely given gifts. But when truth becomes theatre and healing is held hostage for the price of your autonomy, that's no longer sacred. That's exploitation. Someone can channel like a radio tower, read your aura, recite your past life, and still be deep in ego, unhealed in trauma, manipulative, or simply put, a shithead. Being on the receiving end of such caca-activated mastery often happens because people stop listening to their gut. Your intuition knows. It always knows. It doesn't need to speak in light language. It just needs you to trust your divine bullshit filter. That tight chest, that subtle recoil, that whisper, something's off. We have to listen to it. Sometimes we have to be both savage and sacred fascinated but not fooled, open-hearted but boundary-wise, because discernment isn't judgment, it's bloody self-respect. And to all the earth fucker, worm raider, bedazzled flower helmet bullshit merchants out there, if you're going to gather seekers, don't serve bullshit on a crystal platter and call it ascension, because it's somehow at some point rather, your sacred circles start sounding less like healing and more like a diddy white party with a side of ass crack alchemy. And mate, people notice that shit. If you've ever been burnt by fake light, love bombed in the name of healing, or are not down with seducing Gaia in a mud bath of delusion, I feel you. We don't need more gurus, to be honest. We just need more truth.